Why do everything I love have to be violated? Everything I love have to be recreated or remade or touched. I can't forgive Konami for releasing Silent Hill 2 Remake. And I am for sure not going to forgive them for releasing Silent Hill or whenever Silent Hill 1 Remake comes out. But Konami decided to triple down and release a Silent Hill 2 movie adaptation. This movie was released yesterday. As of right now, I'm recording it on the 24th, but it was released on the 23rd in movie theaters, I think. I don't think it was that big because not too many people are a Silent Hill fan. But I am a Silent Hill fan, and I am so furious after watching the movie, and I don't know how I could still get mad at things that is happening in this day and age every time. I don't know, somehow they always get me, and I think it's because it's something I love and something I really enjoyed. And they decide to touch and throw nostalgia in my face, but completely misunderstanding the vision that the original had. So this adaptation, yes, it is on Silent Hill 2 original game. If you haven't played the original Silent Hill 2 game, I really recommend you go and play it. But I do go into spoilers and stuff like that. But I mean, at this point, just go and play the game and then maybe come back and watch this. But if you want to watch the movie, I do go into spoilers again. But my nightmare have became a reality, so Silent Hill 2, Return to Silent Hill 2 movie is an actual thing. So during Act 1, we see a guy driving down a highway in a Mustang. Soon later, we figure out that this is James, and before we met Mary here, James almost hit a semi-truck, and he almost hit Mary, and then Mary dropped her luggage and stuff like that. So then they met each other, and we get a little bit of backstory about Mary, something we didn't get in the original game. This I was kind of curious to see what they do, and yeah, lo and behold, they put Mary in some type of cult. So essentially Mary's dad belonged into some type of cult, or he was like a god, people served him or something, and Mary was just his daughter, and Mary was also part of the cult, and Mary, I think, wanted to sacrifice herself, but also wanted to leave the cult because she was getting hurt from it. You see how confused I am? This is exactly what the movie showed us, because certain parts of the movie is very confusing, because you would be in the present, and then it would jump to a flashback, and then it would jump forward into time, and then it would go back into present day. Some of the parts just don't make any sense, but that's essentially Mary's new backstory, because this is something you did not learn in the original game. Not too much about Mary. All you know is that she was James's wife, and in this movie, for some reason, she is James' girlfriend. This is also a part that also ruins the movie, because then why does James care about her too much if she's just a girlfriend? Not only that, James also moved in to Silent Hill, some type of Silent Hill apartment, or I guess it was the original apartment, with Mary, but Mary's not his wife. So why are they moving in so fast? Why is the relationship moving super fast? This is the problem also with making a movie like this, because there are a lot of things you must kind of explain or make the character, if the player haven't, or if the viewer haven't really played the original game, you kind of have to get them used to Mary and want to see Mary live and kind of connected to Mary in some way. No, this didn't happen. Everything just happened very fast. We also learned that Mary is like Bruce Wayne. She has friends. As soon as I seen Mary's friend, I immediately knew the movie was going for this cult-like is running the town and stuff like that. I immediately knew that, and that's exactly what happened in the movie. Mary's dad is essentially a cult leader, like I said before, and they ran the town. They kind of burned the town somehow, and which kind of spawned in all of the monsters. So if you played the original game, you knew that all of the monsters that you see and stuff were based off of James's psyche and mind. So essentially the town was manifesting everything James, like his habits and stuff that he felt about Mary, or whether he didn't like about Mary, his hatred towards Mary. These things were manifested in the town, but in the movie it didn't really seem that way, because after James met Mary, we saw a scene of him drinking, and he was in a bar. So essentially it's telling us that Mary's dead and stuff like that. But he was in a bar, very depressed, and then he got a letter, the famous letter from the original game, and for him to go to Silent Hill. Now, mind you, this letter didn't even start with, the iconic line, "In this town I see," or in my restless dream, I almost messed it up, "I see this town." This wasn't in the movie at all. I would think a movie that is banking on nostalgia would at least drop the iconic line, the most memorable line in the game, but that wasn't in the game. So James make his way to Silent Hill, and there are iconic scenes during his Silent Hill visits. Like, for example, the bathroom scene was there, and I know you want me to come out here and start screaming about this, but honestly, guys, it's of course not the same as the game. It doesn't hit the same tone. The sound effects aren't the same. The soundtrack's not the same. They didn't even play the Letters soundtrack for Maria to even read, or Mary, I said Maria, Mary to even read the letter. None of that was in there. It's just the, "Hey, look, guys, this is the bathroom scene. You remember that?" Not only that, we get another scene where, if you remember in the original game, where James found the radio, and the stick that he used to defeat the monster that was there. Instead of that, James found this random old man there that's laying by the radio, and as soon as James picked up the radio, the entire town switched into the other world. This is what I mean. Again, if this is Silent Hill 2, surely the director know that Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 1 aren't the same thing. The other world was based on a cult. Silent Hill 2's world was based on manipulation and psychological. These are not the same thing, but the director decided to go the Silent Hill 1 route and make the other world, kind of transform the entire town into the other world. And now James started to run through hallways and run through monsters, and you can see some of the monsters, and it's the same monsters from the original, at least one of them. And the monsters do not really act the same. Yes, they have this twitchy feeling. I did hear the actors were the same as the original, at least they used the same effect as the original. They had, I think, dancers inside the suits, kind of like mimicking the monsters. Apparently that's the same in this movie, but either way, they don't give you the same feeling as the game, of course, which of course I wasn't really expecting that to happen, but I would at least expect it to be close to how the game, looked and how they moved and how they react to things. So after James found the radio and went through the town. Actually, before I get ahead of myself, I forgot to say that before you have gotten all the radio and stuff, you didn't meet Angela in the town, and Angela's not looking for her dad this time, which to me was an immediate red flag. I was like, where are they going with this? Because that is part of her story, and I will explain this later down the line when we see the twist towards the end, which makes no sense whatsoever. But either way, you meet Angela, and yeah, it's not the same scene because she's moving some type of like bag to kind of block, I think, flood or something. I don't know, but she's still in the grave. She also doesn't tell James where to go, so James just randomly walked a specific direction and made his way to the right spot. And also, I do want to point out, there were a few good things I noticed, though, or at least maybe one good thing I noticed throughout the first part of the first act, they actually use fixed cameras in certain scenes. Like, for example, when James is walking towards Silent Hill, they use those fixed cameras that was in the original. Good stuff. Like, honestly, this made me happy. This actually made me smile. I am saying something positive right now. And also, they had footsteps as James was walking throughout, like, all the ash that was falling. You know, instead of fog, they had ash. Like, it was supposed to resemble the first game. This is what I mean. They're trying to blend in both games together. They're also trying to blend in Silent Hill 3 with it too, and I will explain that later. Together. But as he's walking towards the streets, you can see footsteps, which is, I think, is a reference to the loading screen of the original game. I'm just going to give them that good. That also made me smile. So after James ran throughout the town, there was a few montage of him running away from like bug monsters and stuff like that, and it was just showing us the world, how the other world looks and stuff. And it even had like the siren and stuff like that, like the original movie had, where the other world happened. If you remember the original game, it's the exact same thing with the siren, and then the other world happens, and you know, everything turned red and grunge. This is exactly what happened here, and I will say the CGI was horrible. That is another bad thing I want to add. The CGI is so bad in this movie. There's no point of making, you know, wide shots and showing buildings if the CGI and green screen is going to look very, very bad. So, but let's get back to another good thing I did notice, because after this, James made his way to the apartment, and they had another iconic spot, which as he's making his way through the apartment, they had a section that was blocked. Like, if you remember in the original games, there were like gates that would in razor wires that would like block a specific spot. Good stuff. Like, there are good stuff in Act 1. It's just the story is so bad, because we immediately get a flashback to James learning about Mary's friends, and how she, and again, like I said, as soon as I saw these friends, I immediately knew they were in a cult. Also, I forgot to mention, James has like a therapist. I think this is from a reference from the remake, because I think I remember in the original him being a drunk. They did reference him drinking, but he wasn't like, it doesn't seem like it was like in this severe, like where he was very drunk and almost like abusive, like, because he was in a bar and he got kicked out, and there was like a flashback to him and his therapist speaking, and yes, his therapist is a black woman, just random black woman. I guess they had to fill some type of quota. I guess it was filled, but this was never in the original. This was just stuff they're just adding for no reason. I'm getting back into the bad again, but either way, that apartment section where they showed the blocked off section, that is cool. Good job. And then throughout the apartment, we get another iconic scene, was when James found the flashlight in the original game. So in this movie, though, instead of Mary's old dress, they're using this black dress, which I'm going to try to dive deep into why I think they use a black dress. Based on how the movie went, it's not really that deep. I'm guessing by the director, they were just changing things and just gave Mary a black dress. But for me, to be a Silent Hill fan, I'm just going to dive deep into it. So I'm guessing in the original game, Mary had a white pink dress, which signified very like purity and, virginity, or pure, holy in a way. Whereas in the movie, it's a black dress, which I'm guessing signifies dark and twisted, because as I said before, Mary is in a cult. We do figure this out throughout the flashbacks and stuff, and Mary has a twisted past and twisted dark past. So I'm guessing that's what the dress signifies. But either way, the scene is not really shot the same. It's not it's revealed until you can see the dress and stuff like that. Camera has to show and pan on the dress, whereas in the original it was a fixed camera. But I'm not going to compare a game to a movie. Either way, it just wasn't as iconic. Right after that iconic scene, we get a flashback to Mary, I don't know, initiating herself in the cult. I don't know, it was just a lot of people around her kind of praying with her or something like that, and then James kind of walked in on it, which interrupted it. And right here I'm expecting Mary to kind of explain to her boyfriend, by the way, the one she loves and wants to be real and open up to, would explain what in the world we are seeing. No, Mary's just vague, and James just let that go. Also, he doesn't pry at her, he doesn't confront her about it, like, what is this, explain. And no, she just somehow convinced him to forget about it. And then right after this, we meet Eddie. Now Eddie being in this movie doesn't make any sense, because this is not based off of James's mind either. So Eddie being here, especially towards that ending I'm going to explain, Eddie doesn't make sense on being in this section of the game or of the movie. But either way, Eddie walks with you. So after you meet Eddie, James hear like some type of baby crying in the distance. I'm thinking, okay, Eddie's just going to stay here like the game. No, Eddie follows you. And as we follow the sound, we meet Laura. So the source of the sound was Laura, and Laura was hiding in this crevice or some type of hiding spot. Now, this is another thing that confuses me. When you meet Laura, Laura for some reason knows that there's monsters around. She can see the monsters. She can hear the monsters. How? Because in the original game, Laura also is supposed to represent innocence and pure, and she doesn't see monsters because she has no trauma. So how does she see monsters? Oh, that's because, okay, we're in Silent Hill 1. We're not actually making a Silent Hill 2 movie. Okay, I'm starting to understand things now. So during this scene, Pyramid Head shows up. And then Laura went back in hiding, and Eddie started just wailing on you for some reason. I didn't understand why. And then after that, Eddie never shows up again. Yeah, that's the last time you see Eddie. No more Eddie after that. But Angela for some reason show up. This is how I know there's a red flag there. Because why is Eddie never seen again and not important to the story? But yeah, and of course never shows up, but Angela does again. So I knew there was something wrong there. So during the pyramid scene, Pyramid started chasing James around, and then James, we get another iconic scene where James was in that closet, if you remember, in the original game, and he started shooting Pyramid Head. And also this is where he saw Pyramid Head kind of raping that monster, whatever monster it was. Or the spider leg monster, I think that's what it's called. I don't remember the name too much. But either way, this is supposed to be that scene. And in this scene, Pyramid Head just beats on the spider monster. And I want to talk about the spider monsters. The monsters don't look good at all, too. That's another thing I want to get deep into. Pyramid Head actually looked quite decent. But the monster here, the spider monster, looks so bad. But at least it has a butt on her and a bit of tits. But that's all. After that, the monster doesn't even look right. It's so CGI. Looks super fake. But that's besides the point. So Pyramid just started beating up on the spider lady, and he also heard James in the closet, so he confronted James. And also we see a scene where we can see who's inside the Pyramid Head, and as soon as we saw that, anyone could make this conclusion that was James in there. There's no lore, there's nothing to really, you don't look at his habits or the Pyramid's Head habits and what he does to really make a conclusion that's James. No, it just shows a scene, shows eyes, and I could immediately tell that was James in there. So there was no plot twist on me, especially a player, a viewer that already played the original game. But even somebody that didn't play the original game would immediately know, plot twist, that's James in there. So either way, he confronted James, and we fade to black into Act 2. So right after Act 1, Act 2, I don't have too much good to say. I think it actually plummets from here. The movie just jumps straight head first into some type of cave, because I can't think of anything good after, Act 1, what I've said for Act 1. So right after Act 1, we meet Angela again, and this time it is in another iconic scene. If you remember in the original game, where you meet Angela again, and she was in a room with the knife. You remember this part. And if you remember this part, you would also remember the soundtrack that was playing. This is another thing I didn't see too much in. Well, I remembered some of the soundtrack they've played. Like in Act 1, I did forget to mention when James was in the bar, they did play some iconic soundtracks. That I remember, like Tender Sugar, I think. So some of the old Akira's soundtrack, I always butcher this guy's name, but they played some of those soundtrack, but I was expecting them to play more soundtrack. It seems like they only played maybe like 4 throughout the entire movie, where if you watch the original Silent Hill movie, they were constantly playing soundtracks that you remember. For a movie that's banking on nostalgia, why didn't we get more and more soundtracks? Why did we get some generic scary movie soundtracks than we did of the original soundtracks? So after the Angela scene, James just decided to, you know what, I'm not even going to call him James, because this guy doesn't even look like James. Also, more Chad than James. James was supposed to be just a normal guy, but this guy does not look like somebody that's a normal guy. Am I just hating on him? Probably, but either way, this is not James. But still, Chad runs away, and we get another iconic scene. After he ran away from Angela, we meet Laura again. This is where Laura was also on the wall, some type of wall, the gate or whatever. You remember this scene. But dude, this is another opportunity for them to use another soundtrack, which they did not again. Some of this, if you remember this scene, you would remember also, you would probably hear like the ambient of the town. But this is a perfect section to use the Day of the Night soundtrack here. This would have been perfect. That lucid dream, that, nightmare, you're in. This would have been perfect to use, but they did not use the soundtrack here at all. The scene also confirms that Laura can see the monsters, because she also says it during this scene. So after this, Laura makes James chase her, like it's Duck Duck Goose they're playing or something. So he chases her into the park, and we get another, or at least supposed to be, another iconic scene is where we met Maria. If you remember that in the original game, not the same way. None of the dialogues are the same, none of the feelings are the same. James does not mention also that she looks like Mary, and this will be touched on later on, but anyone can see that's the same Mary actor in a wig, so you don't really have to think twice and thinking, is that Mary just in a wig? And by the way, yes, I would the actor for Mary, but either way, you can tell that's the same actor that acts for Mary, but in a blonde wig. I will say this though, it is good that they kept the outfit at least looking like the original. She even had the butterfly tattoo on the bottom right hip, which is good. This is something even the remake didn't do, so I guess I'm giving praise to something that should be, exactly the same as the original, same vision, but whatever. Either way, it gets a plus, because in this day and age, if you do something remotely close to old, you're doing something good, apparently. So either way, the scene is not the same. Also, Mary in the original game felt like, she wasn't real, but also convincing you she was real at the same time. Whereas in this scene, it seems like Maria is her own character.
You're the first normal person I've met in weeks. Strength in numbers.
You don't look like you've been here weeks.
Why, thank you. You, on the other hand,
What?
you look fucked.
She doesn't seem like it is a manifestation of the town to James. Also, if you remember in the game, Maria would also kind of learn off of James. And the DLC kind of explained this, but she would learn off of James. And also, she would act based on James's reaction or certain decisions James made. She would react to that. And also, she would have a bit of Mary, like kind of like of her. If you played the original game, you understand. But in this movie, Maria follows James into the hospital. And this is where also we get another iconic part. I keep saying iconic, but this is another part which shows us the nurses. The nurses was another iconic enemy in the original game. But the nurses do not stay too long. You only get one scene with them. And I will say the original movie did this scene a lot better than this movie. How? If you remember the original movie, they had a mannequin section, and the mannequins felt more like the original game than this did somehow, even though we have more CGI and better computers. How is it possible? But I digress. We continue. Also, the boobs or chest size of the nurses have also been just completely obliterated, not there at all. And if you remember, this is supposed to be part of James' perverted way and mindset, and it's gone. That is a lore change, as much as you want to cope about that, but that is a lore change, and they decided to do that anyway. So during the hospital act, you get more exposition. So Maria starts explaining something about the cult and the dad and stuff like that. It's as simple as you think. Dad owns cult, daughter gets infected by the cult, and she has to fulfill her cult duties. That's it. And then after that, the place begin to break down, and you meet the nurses, and then Maria gets stabbed by the nurses. I guess this is supposed to resemble the Maria getting sick in the original game, if you remember that, because there's a part where James bring her to the hospital and she lays down, and she says, "Don't leave me, James," and stuff like that. So this is kind of the reference to the game. So as James is looking for Mary in the hospital, he meets Laura again, and he started chasing Laura because Laura started spilling more exposition about knowing Mary, and he chases her, and then this soundtrack starts playing. If you remember this soundtrack, this is supposed to be in the mansion towards the end of the game, or the hotel. I'm just convinced the director just don't get it. He doesn't get it. So then he started chasing her, and he gets locked into a room by that same iconic scene. I'm just going to keep using that word throughout the video. That same iconic scene happened again, where Laura trapped them in the room. But in the original, if you remember, Laura did not know anything about monsters in the room. She was just messing with James. But James got stuck in the room, and in the movie, she knows about the monster in there, and she was asking him, "What were you expecting to find coming here, James? You already know, Mary's dead." And then after this, you see on the wall, it's not the same boss that you fight in the original game, but on the ceiling you see Mary and like some deformed monster looking away, and then she shoves her hands down James' throat, and that's Act 2. So at the end of Act 2, We fade to black into Act 3, which we see Chad Sunderland laying down in Brookhaven's hospital. And I'm just going to kind of skip certain things because most of this is just more exposition. Blah, blah, blah. Mary's dead. He's told by his black therapist. And then he sits sad in the hospital, and they decided to play a Silent Hill 3.
It will get you through it. You just have to promise me something.
Track. I'm not going to get mad there. I'm just going to move on. And then we get what it doesn't look like a flashback of James drinking and confronting Mary about the cult thing. I say it doesn't look like a flashback because it just goes into the next scene. Usually it would like flash a white light in the screen to transition to the flashback, so you can at least know, okay, this is not present day or this is not the next scene, this is a flashback. But I think this is a flashback because if Mary is dead, how is she still here, you know? So we get a flashback into James sitting in the dark, acting like a huge doomer and drinking. And Mary came home and he said, well, I followed you. I saw you, you sacrificing yourself and stuff like that. And then he kind of handled her out of his drunken rage and started shaking her and confronting her about it. And then she had the audacity to, why are you acting like this? Why am I acting like this? I don't know, Mary. Maybe because you're in a cult and you're sacrificing yourself. You're doing things. You didn't explain any of this. You just said you have a dark past. Freaking explain the dark past. I had to go figure it out myself. But either way, then James told her, well, if you want to have a chance, let's leave. You leave with me now. We both leave Silent Hill. And she says, no. Woman, what do you mean, no? Don't you want to get away from this cult? But apparently she cannot because James is scared. Of course he's scared. You're in a cult. Leave. Just leave with him now. And then she even mentioned she was getting ready to leave in the first place when James first met her. But they did not because James wanted to stay in Silent Hill because he fell in love with you. Why didn't you just mention the cult and leave with him and say, I don't want to be in this place? I'm sure James, out of love, would want to move and leave this place with you. But for some reason, the woman didn't speak up at all. It just said, oh, well, it's because you're scared, so I'm not moving out. And it said, oh, look at this. It's your fault, too, because I stayed because of you. I just can't be bothered, man. So James decided to leave after the scene. I don't even want to go on about the ending too much. I'm just going to skip into the twist. So apparently, the ending wanted to kind of mash all of the different endings from the original, because it had James killing himself and it had James leaving with Maria. It's just, it tried to mash all of the endings at once, and it also gave an happy ending where James meets Mary again, but this time he knows about the cult, so he kind of prevent the event from happening. So essentially he's trying to mash up all the good bad ending together. But the twist is, when you meet Laura for the last time, Laura says, look at us, James, look at me. You know what I am. Don't you remember Mary's full name? Which apparently Mary's full name is Angela Laura Crane? So it's Mary Angela Laura Crane. So essentially, they are all Mary? Including Laura and Angela? Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. I have no idea what to tell you here. This is the ending. Okay, I guess it's supposed to be deep and I don't understand it, but I think it's more confusing than just too deep for me to understand. So essentially, Laura is Mary and James' head as a child, and because all of this is happening in James' head, this is not the town. And Angela, also, we did get a scene with Angela that and the daddy boss, and it doesn't make sense because I guess the movie's saying Mary's dad kind of sexually assaulted her also because she's Angela. Yeah, that's it for me. I also forgot to mention throughout this shabakri, James did kill Mary in this, but here's the thing. It was warranted because Mary was essentially poisoned from the cult, and it was warranted. So I don't feel bad that he killed her. Whereas in the original, as soon as Mary got sick, James started hating Mary and despising Mary and wanted to commit adultery, essentially committed spiritual adultery, because he wanted to already replace her before she even died. He just wanted an excuse to go through with it. Whereas in the movie, it's kind of warranted she dies. I didn't really care. This is what I mean. The movies just cannot recreate that connection. That's essentially the Silent Hill 2 movie. Horrible movie. I don't even want to continue with that because even me, when I'm watching it, I'm so furious and angry. I don't know why, but I am. I think I'm just more confused, angry. Then if you remember in the original game, even if you didn't understand something, there were more just questions you had out of curiosity and more explanation based on not understanding some of the analogies and some of the symbolism. But this is just confusing backflash or flashbacks. And that's it. And then to have mashed up endings that doesn't make any sense. Thanks for watching, man. I don't want to continue with this. I do appreciate you watching this far. I know I haven't been around for too much, but this I had to make a rant about this movie because not too many people are Silent Hill fans. I am a huge Silent Hill fan, and anything that's something I enjoy and they decide to butcher, of course, I just have to express myself in that way because it's just baffling to see director after director always adapting video games. Video games are meant to be their own experience, not movie experiences. So stop adapting video games. Stop it. I heard there's a new God of War series coming out at some point. Why? There's already a Fallout series. There was a Halo series. I mean, why must we adapt every single game? The games are supposed to be their own experiences. Do not touch them. They're supposed to be their own vision. Do your own thing. Make your own Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. Those are vision movies and series. Why must we make them why must we make games into TV series? There's so many things about games that just cannot be recreated in a movie. Like, for example, the puzzles and the symbolism of the puzzles and the games weren't in the movie. Of course not, because you can't do it. And also the sense of getting lost and feeling isolated, you can't recreate that in a movie. So stop adapting my favorite games into movies and series. And yes, I know the God of War is coming out soon, and I can't wait for that disaster. Thanks for watching.